This is CTV News with Scott Hurst.
This just in from White Rock, a dramatic rescue at the end of the pier has ended successfully. Gale force winds sent boats slamming into the pier, leaving one man stranded and hoping desperately for help to arrive. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. That man is now safe on dry land after a harrowing rescue by helicopter as concerned people watched from the shore. Let's go live to CTV's Maria Weisgarber now, who witnessed the drama unfold. Maria.
Scott, there were many people lined up along Marine Drive, many with their cell phones and cameras out, watching as giant waves kept rolling in over the broken pier, with one man stranded on the other side. The calls started coming in around 2 this afternoon. Witnesses described boats coming loose and slamming into the side of the pier. The waves were incredible. And then at some point, the pier started to buckle. People were seen running to get off. The RCMP said they had officers trying to get everyone to safety, but it was too late for one man. The popular walkway collapsed close to the center, leaving him stranded for about an hour and a half. A search and rescue helicopter was brought in. They used a long line and picked up the man. Applause broke out as he finally arrived on the other side of the pier, safe and sound.
Are you okay? I'm good. Cold and wet. Boats started breaking loose on the side there. They're coming loose. They weren't moored. They're coming down and smashing against the side of the pier. And people were, quite a few people are out there. And the boat and the pier was starting to buckle, and they could see that. Okay, and it was starting to bend down. People were scrambling to get off.
Then all of a sudden, everyone started running, and that last person didn't get through.
I've lived here most all of my life. Never seen anything like it.
And that's what we heard from some very long-time residents here. They have never seen anything like this when it comes to the wind, the waves, and the damage to this historic pier, which is such a huge attraction in the city, Scott.
Quite a rescue and some incredible video there. Thank you, Maria. We are learning the storm has turned deadly on Vancouver Island. The BC Coroner Service is investigating a death related to a toppled tree in Duncan. Back here on the mainland, widespread damage and a close call for several families in Vancouver. Let's go live to CTV's David Molko on East 12th near Fraser, where an entire block is under evacuation. David.
And Scott, every 30 seconds or so, we get an enormous blast of chilly wind from the east behind me, neighbors here wondering if things are going to go from bad to even worse. I'm going to step out of the way here and give you a look, see if you can make out at least one of the two 50-footer trees on the left side here, 50-foot trees toppled on top of these rooftops. It's a little dark now. You can see they've got the street closed off, half the block evacuated. Let's take you the video from earlier today, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when these things came down. Neighbors say with a sickening crunch. You can see they are sprawled right across the rooftops of these 3-story homes. Gives you a sense of the scale. There's a water main break in addition underneath one of these trees on the sidewalk, or water main, I should say. It's not broken. That would make things even worse here. Neighbors saying that they are worried. Some live under the trees nearby. They're looking up at the boughs every time a gust of wind blows through and hoping that tree number 3 or 4 is next.
Heard the second tree go down just as I was getting out of my car, so there's a big crunch.
Can you get in there and get some stuff out just in case, or
they won't let us back in?
What's going through your head right now?
Wish me luck.
And talk about lucky, we want to take you to Richmond now, where the driver of a pickup truck underneath all of those, well, 2 branches came down. He was parked outside his place of business in Executive Park near the airport, managed to make it out the passenger door, not injured, but the windshield was shattered. There were pieces of branches in the car. Paramedics calling him extremely lucky. Scott?
Wow. Okay, David, besides roads, you've also been tracking ferries for us. What's the latest there?
Yeah, really cascading cancellations since dawn, with every major sailing between the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island canceled since this morning. It looks like Tsawwassen to Swartz Bay, that's still seeing some of the worst of it even right now. I have an update on Departure Bay, though, and Horseshoe Bay. Departure Bay to Horseshoe Bay, that looks like it's going to go at 5:55. Horseshoe Bay to Departure Bay, that looks like it's going to go at 6:35, though. They look like they are completely full. Check the BC Ferries website. If you can avoid sailing, if you can avoid being on the roads, if you can avoid being anywhere this evening, your best plan to stay put.
A lot to take in here, so let's check in with Ann Lou now to walk us through all the warnings. Ann.
All right, well, they are still in effect for Vancouver Island, Central Coast, Sunshine Coast, Metro Vancouver, and the Fraser Valley. For us on the mainland, we'll see southwesterly winds between 70 and 90 kilometers an hour, with winds from the southwest gusting to 100 kilometers an hour, and that's for West Vancouver Island. Slowly, things are easing off, but we are still seeing gusts at 53 kilometers an hour for Vancouver, upwards of 64 kilometers an hour for Tawasin, and that's what you're pretty much seeing in Abbotsford. And the peak winds we saw in Abbotsford today, Scott, was at 102 kilometers an hour at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Dramatic scene along White Rock's historic pier late today. Sailboats breaking free from their moorings, smashing into the wooden structure and trapping a pedestrian on the other side. This just one of countless images of damage from across our region tonight.
Oh, a line just went down right there. Holy cow.
Power lines coming down are causing havoc as a wicked windstorm lashes the south coast and Vancouver Island. Hundreds of thousands of people have been dealing with power outages as trees topple onto roads and hydro lines. From stranded ferry passengers to drivers dealing with closed roads to homes in the dark. This is a windstorm the likes of which we haven't seen in a generation. And good evening. The windstorm battering the south coast has now turned deadly. The BC Coroner Service confirming tonight that a person has been killed by a falling tree in Duncan.
Meanwhile, the effort to get the power back on for thousands of homes is in full swing tonight as we bring you breaking news, team coverage of this major windstorm.
Allison Hurst is on the edge of Stanley Park, which officials closed today. Michelle Murrow is in Langley as commuters south of the Fraser are being hit hard. And David Mulco is on Vancouver's east side where large trees are coming down.
But we begin with Maria Weisgarber near White Rock and the latest on the rescue effort triggered by serious damage to the pier.
It was about an hour and a half before the rescue took place. A search and rescue helicopter arrived and used a long line to bring the man to safety. Here's how it all unfolded.
I'm good. Cold and wet.
He was out walking, is my understanding. As were other people, and we received calls that people were concerned the pier was going to collapse due to boats crashing into it. Members were out there, police officers were out there ushering people off the pier when it did break apart.
I have never seen any wind like this and storm like this in 47 years I've lived here in White Rock.
Let's go to the corner of 12th and St. George in Vancouver now, where David Mulco is live tonight. David.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to step out of the way here and give you a look at this. It is really touch and go. The entire block evacuated. Every 30 seconds, we get an enormous gust of wind out of the east. Residents watching the trees that have already come down and hoping their homes aren't next.
I heard the second tree go down just as I was getting out of my car. So there was a big crunch.
And this is what John Walsh saw. Not one, but two 50-foot giants perched precariously across the rooftops. Heather Berry lives in the middle.
Really hoping that the tree doesn't come down on our house.
East 12th was quickly roped off, neighbors staring at the sky as every gust through the branches and boughs sent a fresh shudder.
It's either a matter of time or we get lucky.
Elsewhere in Vancouver, wild winds in the east left the scaffolding dangling by a thread. And in the west, knocked down power lines, sending up smoke.
Sparks not coming down and the...
In Richmond near YVR, branches buried not one vehicle but two. Somehow, no one was injured. Look at this. The roof is completely mangled. Over there, pieces of the tree inside the truck. The paramedics call this guy lucky. Storm surge whipping the dock in Tawasin as hopeful passengers headed for the island were turned away starting at dawn, and the cancellations cascaded.
If they sail in something like this, you're going to have everybody throwing up all over the place, and I wouldn't want to travel with that either.
BC Ferries calling it the worst storm in 8 years. A few choosing to wait it out. Well, back along 12th Ave, those who live along this stretch weren't given a choice. What's going through your head right now?
Wish me luck.
And back live now, the gusts of wind, the rain coming down now. It is not clear if anybody is going to be able to go home tonight.
To the valley now, where CTV's Michelle Murrow is live at 264th and Highway 1. And Michelle, falling trees have also caused some serious problems out there.
Yeah, that's right, Mi-Jung, and gusts of wind still coming and going here. Earlier today, those strong winds downing trees, sending branches flying and making for a very dangerous situation. The sirens could be heard all day. This ambulance rushing to an accident after a tree came crashing down onto a car on Highway 1 near 264th Street.
Tree came back, just caught the end of his hatchback. He swerved, almost went in about 60 feet over into the other coming highway. Swerved for another couple hundred feet.
Witnesses say the vehicle lost control, ending up here, motorists stopping to help the injured driver, a woman, until paramedics arrived.
We laid down some blankets and laid her down, put my sweater under her head.
Yeah, really scary. Then I just tried to stop this way, try to help her.
Other witnesses working quickly to move the tree off the highway, even using a truck to push debris, worried someone else could get hurt.
It was gnarly, scary. We got to get out of here because if another one comes down.
Earlier in Surrey, a worker at Pacific Academy was injured when a tree toppled over.
The chances of that happening are so slim. Yes, he was wearing a protective helmet, so that was a good thing for him.
Emergency Services says the worker was taken to hospital in serious condition. Winds also fierce in Abbotsford. Trees on vehicles, on a home, a roof even blowing off a barn. All over the region, falling trees were a problem, backing up traffic along the highway and leading to widespread power outages that shut down businesses.
It's had a big impact for us. We've actually sent about, I guess, maybe 25 people home. Without computers, we're dead in the water.
The winds have been fierce and destructive, and they're not over yet.
Allison Hurst is live in Stanley Park, and officials closed that park because of the wind earlier today. Allison.
Scott, this wind continues, and the storm certainly has been no joke. There was a tree actually blown over right across the Stanley Park Causeway. Let's show you that first. This was earlier this afternoon. A massive trees came crashing down onto Stanley Park Causeway, spreading debris right across the road, even causing some slowdowns. The Vancouver Park Board then closed the entire park and had park rangers redirecting traffic and pedestrians at Pipeline Road roundabout. The closure of Bright Nights caught some families off guard, and the park board says they are going to keep Bright Nights closed this evening. You can see the wind is still blowing.
On Vancouver Island, high winds pulled trees down in Port Alberni, severing multiple power lines. Rising water causing more mayhem in the Alberni Valley, with the First Nation declaring a state of emergency. On the South Island in Saanich, a massive tree fell on a moving SUV. The driver was not hurt.
Few seconds. If I'm there, just like boom.
The winds sparing no water route off the island. The Clipper to and from Seattle was shut down. Even the Coho ferry to Port Angeles was landlocked by weather for the first time in 22 years. For those trying to travel by air, the storm surge also canceling flights from Victoria's Harbour. There were also delays, cancellations, and bumpy landings at the Victoria International Airport, where power was briefly knocked out.
And winds were gusting when fire broke out this morning at a home in Coquitlam. One person and some dogs were inside, but they all managed to get out safely. Fire crews knocked that fire down before the wind could spread the flames.
Let's go to our breaking news center now, where Julie Nolan is keeping track of the very latest power outages. Julie?
Yes, Mi-Jung, this terrible storm has caused power outages and problems for over 300,000 customers, and it seems to be getting worse by the hour. Right now, more than 160,000 homes and businesses across the Lower Mainland and the Sunshine Coast are in the dark.
And a lot of people are wondering if the worst of this wind is over.
The worst is over, Scott and Mi-Jung, but it is still very windy outside. Here's a look at peak winds through this afternoon.
Meanwhile, from video of boats smashing into the pier in White Rock to trees down all across Metro Vancouver, we've got extended video of the windstorm on our website, ctvnewsvancouver.ca.
The vicious weather across the South Coast has battered homes and brought down trees in every community.
Here in Vancouver, CTV News caught up with one homeowner who narrowly escaped being crushed inside her own home.
Julie Nolan joins us now from the Breaking News Center with more on that. Julie?
Mi-Jung, this frightening incident happened this afternoon in East Vancouver, where two trees came crashing down onto a home along the SkyTrain line. The giant trees were toppled in the wind and slammed into the house. The homeowner says the trees came from property belonging to both the city and TransLink and says the tangled trees that came down and caused the damage is their responsibility. But for the man's daughter, she knows she's lucky to be alive.
I heard a big thump. I was actually sleeping in the family room, maybe 10 feet, maybe 5 feet away from where the tree came down.
The homeowners, they say, like so many others tonight, can't go back into their home because it's unsafe and don't know when they can return and who will pay for the damage. The homeowners say they, like so many others tonight, don't know where they're going or where they'll be staying or how long it will be before they can return home.
Julie Nolan has an update to the storm. Julie.
Yes, Scott, it's been a wicked day for weather, as we've been hearing all hour, and hundreds of thousands of BC Hydro customers are affected. It's been a worsening situation for some, even over the last hour, now sitting in the dark tonight. It's due to power outages from fallen trees like this cross-border timber that came down from Point Roberts into a Tsawwassen homeowner's backyard. We'll be tracking the situation through the evening.